All right, I'll call the meeting to order. It's now, I'm gonna say 6:31. And in attendance for the committee, we have Clarence Casper, we have Bruce Flax, Kathy Chase, Chase Foster, Roseanne Kantowski, and myself, Beverly Washington. And we have Sean Powers. Okay. We have no unfinished business, and the first item on the agenda, and I'm gonna do this for myself. And the first item on the agenda is the Groton Heights property. And this is to determine whether we want to sell the property or not sell the property. So I'll turn it over to Town Manager John Burke or the Director of Planning and I always get that wrong. I'll turn it over, or John Reiner.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services.
That's what I was going to say.
Excellent. So, all right, good. So thank you everyone for having us here tonight. So with me, obviously, Town Manager John Burr, and then also Paige Bronk, Economic and Community Development Manager. Just want to kind of give a brief overview of the process and what we're here for tonight. So as everyone knows, the town of Groton does own excess buildings and properties that are no longer utilized for municipal use. And state law requires that the town have a public hearing anytime that we have the sale of a property valued at over $10,000. And in addition to that, the town council is required to refer the sale of all property valued over $10,000 to the RTM for approval, as well as to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review under Connecticut General Laws 824. This property has had a public hearing before the town council. It was scheduled and reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission under an 824 referral back in February of 2020. The commission found that the sale of the property is consistent with the plan of conservation and development. And the town also has to post an appraisal of the property on the town's webpage, which we have done that. And we're here before you tonight to talk about the disposition, so the sale of the property, and happy to answer any questions about the particular process of the sale of the property. But again, the vote tonight is whether or not the town should sell the property.
Any question? I think we should start with a resolution. I always forget that motion before we start even talking. I always forget that, so I apologize. Would anybody like to make the motion for the sale of the property?
I'll make the motion, Beverly. I'll
Go
make
ahead.
make the motion to sell Groton Heights.
Second, Foster.
All right, so we're making a motion to recommend the sale of Groton Heights property to the full RTM, okay? How's that sound? Is that okay, Sean?
Sounds good, Beverly.
Okay. Who seconded that motion?
Bruce.
Bruce, thank you, Bruce. Okay, so do we have any questions?
I have a quick question. The planning and zoning, was that the city planning and zoning?
No, this was the town Planning and Zoning Commission because it is a town-owned property.
So does it still have to go through the city planning and zoning?
When a developer moves forward with the redevelopment of the property, it will go before the city Planning and Zoning Commission. But as far as for an 824 referral, it is not required to go to the city's Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Bev, I have my hand up.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Roseanne.
Hi. I do not support this sale because the town of Groton does not have a good track record in forcing developers to comply with the deals that they make with them. I want to call your attention to two documents, one from February 6, 2021, and one from February 25th, 2021, and you can request this from the town manager. Attorney McCausher requested documents from the development deal between the town and the Mystic Girls School property. The documents that he requested, there was 11 documents requested, only 2 were returned. and the other 9 were returned with, there are no responsive documents. Every single one of these requests were for information from timeline deadlines in the development agreement. And you can see these documents for yourself. So what's happening here is the town is not enforcing the development deal that the developer is not complying with. So I think that it's irresponsible to move forward on more projects if the town is not going to enforce and comply with the deals that they sign on behalf of the taxpayers. So that's, I know I'm not going to get any support. I know if I can just get one person to start asking questions, then it'll be worth bringing this up tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Just to
Roseanne.
point out there, this isn't on top. This isn't on topic. It's we haven't posted to talk about Mystic Education Center, so you can't bring it into this discussion.
Well, I was just talking about the idea that should we sign development deals if we're not going to enforce them or comply with them? That's all.
Well, John, do you want to speak to that, or Paige? Then I'll jump in after.
So other properties that we're working on right now are moving forward. The William Seeley School, we've actually sold that property. The developer for that particular property is in the process of demolishing that building as we speak. They received a permit to demolish that building. They have their inland wetlands approval, and I expect their final development plan in the next few weeks so that they can go before the Planning and Zoning Commission to get their site plan approval. There are other properties, the Gold Star Highway property that the RTM has approved of the sale of that, as well as the Colonel Ledyard property that we're working with both of those preferred developers on those, which have authorized and signed purchase and sales agreements, and those are progressing along just fine.
Paige, do you want to add anything, Paige?
I think my only comment would be specific to Groton Heights. We did go, we have been trying to market the property. I think people are aware that there was a letter of intent, but we've yet to have any agreement with Thayer Mahan in terms of the development. We're working on that. After we get through this process, we're hoping to move into that phase where we would have an overall option agreement with the developer and moving forward. But as John mentioned tonight, really what we're working on is, will the town dispose of the property, or do they want to keep it in its current form longer? It's been in a vacant state. It's being vandalized. It's depreciating year over year. Professionally, my recommendations, we need to move forward and do something.
I read your letter. I want to thank both you guys, John and Paige, for your hard work in the area of economic development. And I read your letter of intent, and it seems very thorough. I was looking for areas where I can question you guys, but I couldn't find anything. So thank you. Kathy Chase, you have a question?
Yes, I do. So what we're voting on tonight is just whether we want to sell this property or not. It is not, excuse me, it is not about who's buying it or any agreements. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We are just voting whether we want to sell it. And
Right.
once we vote on that, and if it goes through, then a developer will be identified and oversight will be on that developer from the town staff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I had my hand up, but
Oh, I'm sorry, Clarence.
I'm just confused by Representative Katowski's statement is she suggesting that the town can't sell property that's surplus because they don't do a good job doing it? Or we should keep the property and keep maintaining it? I'm not sure what her point was.
Are you asking me to clarify?
Yes.
Oh, okay. My point was that this has come to my attention that the town has entered into a development agreement in a situation where property is going to be sold, and there's development agreement deadlines and timelines that are not being met unless there's documents that weren't provided in the FOI, who knows? But there are deadlines and documents that have not been provided. So the context of my statement was, I don't think it's responsible to move forward with projects if the projects are, the development deals are not going to be complied with or enforced. That's all. And this one is not.
You're talking about this property.
No, I'm talking about the Mystic Oral School property as context for how the town handles development agreements. That's my point. You can disagree with me, but that's my point.
Well, I'm trying to make, the point is on this, are you saying we shouldn't sell this property because the town doesn't know how to sell property? Or what is the point on this property?
Well, the point is, well, again, my point is that there's a track record here of not enforcing and making developers comply with development deals. And so that's my point, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, generally, once you sell a property, whoever buys the property, you know, I mean, I don't understand. I buy a property, I, have to, meet zoning requirements, but I can really do after that what I want with that property. So I don't understand your point at all.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Our discussion really is whether we want to sell the Groton Heights property or not. And the building has been vacant for years now. I don't remember exactly when, but at least over 10 years it has to be vacant. So,
Madam Chairman, Representative Foster has had his hand up for quite some time.
okay.
Okay, I don't know if you can.
No, Chase, and then Sean. Sean has his hand up too.
Yeah, I'm just curious with the procedure for the disposition of town property. There's a establishment of a property evaluation committee, and I just was curious if that was ever formed and when that happened. And there were some questions that it's supposed to answer in terms of, is there a foreseeable use by any town department, or is the property suitable for recreation or open space purposes? And I just was curious what the answers to those questions were. I understand there's a building there and it's a liability, huge cost for abatement in terms of, or removal, remediation for asbestos or whatever else might be in the building. I just was curious what the outcome of the committee was. Thank you.
Who would like to take that question?
So John Reiner, I can jump in. Maybe John Burt can help a little bit on this also, and then Paige could also weigh in. So this property, the town has been marketing since softly, since before I started even working for the town. The town had looked at it at some point in the past about what other uses on it could potentially be. It is not a very large property. There is a large structure on the property which has environmental contamination. We have done a phase 1 environmental assessment on it. There were no other, to my knowledge, no other town functions that wanted to use this building, nor did we have the cost to renovate this building to bring it up to current standards. John Burt, I don't know if there was any other knowledge you had on that you wanted to bring.
Bruce might even have more than me, because when I got here, it was already in progress to marketing this and decision to be sold. I wouldn't see this, there's no real trees on it, no real value as open space. To me, it's most suitable for development.
I can add a comment if desired. It is true, this property has been vacant for at least a decade. There was a committee many years ago that consisted of, I believe, town and city representatives, where they were discussing what the future use would be with the intent of redevelopment. There is a report that they had put together. Again, this is years back, but it provided a number of different options. I don't believe that the committee recommended that it be held by the town or the city. They did anticipate it would be redeveloped by somebody. And like I said, there were a number of uses. So I think that was the history. So it's almost a de facto desire to see it redeveloped. And that led to where we were a few years ago in developing some marketing for the property and trying to get some interest on the land.
Just to add, now the group that looked at projects, that was a mixture of the city and town, I believe. Is that right? And didn't the city actually create a new zoning specifically because they wanted this type of development, like the institutional zone? They added some, wasn't this the impetus for that, John or Paige?
Yes.
Yeah, this is what the city wanted to see, this type of project there, as well as the town.
And to John's question, and to everyone's correct, Paige and John, that it was vacant. It's been vacant for a long time, and there was a reuse committee set up that met and gave a recommendation. I think what Chase was trying to ask, and it sounds like the answer is, like there's a I believe that, you know, now there's a policy about town-owned property reuse, which was probably created after this property was put on the market. And
Correct.
So I think that that's probably the answer, but I think that's what he's looking at is there's a committee that meets to discuss how to deal with property that has a bunch of representation from different areas of the town, whether it be the RTM or the council or whomever, and that there's all those questions that Chase was referring to are on that document. But I think the answer is that it was put up on the market when we were, when the council, before 2017, before our council left. So it just happened to get sold, after that point. So it was sold. It was like Thayer Mahan came into it before the committee was established to decide about how property should be disposed of. I think maybe John, you can confirm that, but I think that's probably the bottom line from Chase's, for how Chase is addressing it.
I believe it was sometime in 2019 that policy actually went in.
No, this is all useful information. Thank you very much. Once it's gone, it's gone. And if there's no use for it and it seems clear in this point, then I don't see any reason why we would object to selling the property. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase. Representative Powers?
Thank you, Chairman Washington. I just want to read one statement here, and it's right off of our discussion for action. It says, whereas an option for the eventual purchase of the property has been prepared by the town attorney and is under review by the preferred developer. The town attorney is the person that's in control of this whole thing at this point in time. And for us to want to go through this legal document and who's meeting what deadlines, contracts are a very specific thing. We have COVID-19 now. When we do a real estate transaction, we actually have a form that we have to sign for delays and deadlines and dates and all these different things because of the virus. This here is pretty simple to understand. We have one job to do, and the job is to either approve the sale of the RTM for a vote, and that's it. As far as the formula that we go about getting this done and the developer's options to do all this stuff, it's contractual law. I don't know it. And you can have all kinds of deadlines that change constantly in a contract. And when the attorneys have it in their hands, it's up to the attorneys to do their job. That's why we pay the town attorney for it. So I'm asking us to just move the question. I think we've had enough discussion, and I think we should either vote for it or against it and move on, because we have quite an agenda to do tonight. We have a whole list of things to go into. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a
Um,
motion, Madam Chair, you have a motion on the floor that has not been seconded. A motion to move the question.
Okay, so we have a motion to move the question. Do we have a second? Okay, so that motion, let me write that down. Motion to move the question. Okay, I think Representative Flax had his hand up.
Thank you, Chairman Washington. I just wanted to respond to Representative Powers and just say that, you know, I think that everybody who wants to speak should be heard. And if, you know, that's it. And that if it's irritating you that people are speaking and you don't feel it's in turn, then I don't know what to tell you, but everybody has a right to speak. And I think that you trying to rush it after being in for just a few minutes is inappropriate, but that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Flax. Representative Forster, do you have another question?
Yeah, I just also wanted to reiterate what Rep. Flax said. I mean, sometimes it seems obvious, but I think that the public deserves the answers to some of these questions. And quite frankly, it just sometimes feels like we're being muscled into what the obvious choice is instead of being able to ask questions. And that's all.
Thank you, Representative Forster. Any other questions? Representative Flax, you still have your hand up? Okay. And having no other questions, I'll move for the vote. And the vote is that the Finance Committee recommends the sale of the Groton Heights property to the full RTM. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose?
Opposed.
Abstentions? Okay, so approved.
I opposed it.
Yeah, okay. So 6-1,
Thank you.
unopposed, Roseanne. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Paige and John, for coming out tonight.
Thank
The
you.
next item on our agenda is we're into budget review, and the first account is voter registration, account 1003 on page, let me see what page it's on page 60. So account 1003 on page 60. Do I have a motion to, let me see, I got so many papers now. Okay. We have a motion to approve a figure of $135,485 for voter registration.
So moved.
Bruce, do I have a second?
Second, Chase.
Chase, okay. Okay, and tonight we have with us Kristen and Jeannie from voter registration. Do you want to tell us about your budget?
Sure. Hi, Chairman Washington. This is Kristen Venditti, and I have Jeannie Rogers with me. We would just like to say that this year's budget obviously has gone way down by $73,000, but that is due to COVID and the presidential election. Our budget fluctuates every year based on what elections we have and how much voter turnout we expect there to be. The only things that I would say would stand out as items are that we put in a scanning system to be purchased. I spoke with IT and they've given me an option to purchase of $500 because of Municipal, the new program that we're using in the town. We need to scan in all of the receipts now instead of just sending them over. So we need a scanner. And then the other thing that we wanted to put in were tables for the polling places. And the reason, those are $1,000. The reason why we want those is because the privacy booths that we have are breaking down. They're not sturdy on their legs anymore, so we can take those cases that the privacy booth is in and set them on the table so it's safer. Other than that, everything is pretty status quo for November municipal election.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Representative Katowski, go ahead.
Are there any salary increases in this budget?
Yes, actually, I forgot about that. Yep, we put $1,000 for each registrar because they haven't been raised in a little while. So that brings us up to 21,000.
Okay,
Each.
so I'd like to move another number.
Okay.
$133,485.
$133,485.
$485. That just eliminates the raises, and I can give you my reason in a minute, if it gets a second.
Okay. Do a second? I'll second it for discussion only.
Oh, thank you. I just have two things. The first thing, Chairman Washington, may I address Moderator Evans? I see she's on here.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, I'm here. I'm listening.
Nice. Okay. I'm referencing your letter to the mayor and the members of the town council. And I was wondering if you got a response from that letter?
No, that you're referencing the letter on the unfunded balance, the
No, yeah, so basically.
unassigned fund balance, sorry.
Yeah, so we're moving forward with the full knowledge that whatever we do, we won't know if taxes will be raised or if the town council will be using fund balance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, I did not get any response to that letter, which the town clerk did send on behalf of the RTM.
Okay, thank you.
So there's been no feedback at this point.
Okay, considering that, I believe it's not responsible to raise the budget because we're ending a pandemic. I think that all the line items should be last year. There should be no new spending, especially if we don't know if there'll be a tax increase or not. And another thing is using fund balance does one thing, it raises the taxes for the next year. So that's why I moved the number that I moved. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, so we'll first vote on the amended motion of $133,485. All those in favor of that figure, $133,485, say aye.
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 Okay.
Come here.
All those opposed? Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed? Okay.
Opposed.
Kathy, Clarence, Chase, and Sean, right? Okay, that motion fails. Okay, all those.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to point out for a future reference that when you cut, it doesn't cut anything in particular from a budget. That's ultimately up to me where it gets cut. So just so you know, it's not like you're cutting actual salary.
Well, wait a minute. So if the budget gets reduced $2,000 and you find somewhere else to cut $2,000 from the budget, it means there is more in the budget that you needed. So I understand you saying that. I understand you also told people that you would get bonuses if there was raises cut. So, but I just feel like this is what's happening this year, and I'm gonna move forward doing that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Representative Katowski. Now we will vote on the main figure of $135,485. All those in favor of that figure, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One,
Opposed?
Was it Bruce?
Yes.
Bruce and Roseanne, okay. Right, so that passes. 135,000. And I want to write and do this at the same time. Okay, thank you, Kristen and Jeannie, for coming tonight. And we approved your budget. We're moving on to the full RTM.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Okay, the next account is 22060 Munford Cove.
No, town clerk.
What is it?
Town clerk?
Oh, town clerk, I'm sorry. Let me see where I had that. I forgot, town clerk, okay,
Page 63.
all right. I did, oh yeah, I have it. I scribbled other stuff on there. Okay, town clerk, page 1005, page 63. Who would like to move that number?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I'd like to move $333,800 for account 1005.
Second.
Okay, Sean, second. All right, so it was $333,800, you said, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, okay, and seconded by Sean. All right, Town Clerk McAllister, would you like to explain your budget?
Good evening, yes. Our budget this year is keeping full services. And I have contracts that increased union contract plus a step increase that's built into the union contract. So sometimes it's a double increase in 1 year. So that's good for morale. But as far as our expenses, the requirements that we have are also statutorial for preservation of land records, vital records, and those things cost more money every year. So we have a special paper that's authorized by the Secretary of the State and for ballots, and we have special paper for all of our recordings, our permanent record recordings. That's regulated by the archivists of the public library in Hartford Public Library. So those, you'd be surprised that there's been a 25% increase just this year that luckily I could absorb. So I had to build that into this next year's budget. I've kept most everything pretty level as far as our needs. We're very careful about what we need as far as pens and paper and that kind of thing. It's less paper is great. Everything's paperless pretty much as far as agendas. We have a few people that still have them mailed to them or hand delivered, but we're going there. So elections are what they are. We have the municipal election this year. If there's a primary, there could be. We saw one in the city, so there may be one in the town. So we'll see. That would be an additional election, which I didn't budget for. So we were just budgeting for one election and one referendum just in case.
Any questions for Town Clerk?
I do want to add our revenues have exceeded our expectations this fiscal year. And that has to do with the boom in real estate. We had 0% interest for people refinancing, and boy, oh boy, maybe some who took advantage of it. I'll never tell. But I'll tell you, we have really exceeded even the boom in the 80s. You know, we're way over, way over.
That's good.
Well, we don't have as much conveyance because we had to drop our conveyance last summer. I think you remember. We had been allowed to add an extra conveyance for the town because we were listed as a distressed community. I'm not sure how we got on it, and I will thank the town manager at the time. I don't know how they did it. It allowed us to have more money into the town coffers. Everything that we collect in our office goes directly into the general fund. So, you know, that's where, you know, so that's where it goes, and that's where it comes out of for my budget.
Okay. Oh, shucks.
Any questions? I'm here.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead, Representative Chase.
Thank you. Betsy, can you explain what cost center 5230 is, payments / contributions? What is that?
Yeah, so we have to pay other towns for records that belong to us. It's not very much money, $2 per record if there's more than 21 records. So if it's under 21 records, we don't have to pay them. We get to keep them for free, but that's what that's for.
Okay. And then can you clarify how many assistant town clerks you have?
I have all my employees are assistant town clerks. So there are 4.
Okay, so the assistant town clerk, it says there's 3, so that's why I was confused about
They're all
that.
assistant town clerks, but one is named deputy. Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
I have my hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Representative Katowski.
I'd like to move another number,
Okay,
$330,857.
300 and,
No, $330,857.
I'll second it for conversation purposes.
Thank you.
you want to explain your
It's
motion?
the same reasoning that I don't know how we can move forward with this budget when we don't know if we're going to have a tax increase or use fund balance. And I don't think we should be raising taxes at all this year because of the hard year that everybody's had. And there needs to be some empathy for the taxpayers. Maybe the people in this Zoom meeting have had no trouble the past year, but I know plenty of people that have had a lot of trouble. So that's my reasoning, and thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Any other discussion on that amended motion?
I have a question for the town manager.
Go ahead,
So you
Representative
had
Chase.
previously mentioned that if we do cuts, it won't necessarily go towards salaries because aren't they contractual?
Contractual, I have no we have to pay those. We have no option on it. So if you cut, and let's say we couldn't find, I'd work with any department head to see where there's room to cut, but we've already done that. So there's not much. So let's say you cut it to the point where it's not enough to function, then I have to work through the council. Either I have to make a decision that we're going to go for a fourth quarter transfer later. If we have to do it, we'll have to do it. And otherwise talk to the council about cutting services, but we don't have a lot of places we can cut. We've already tried that. So what it's likely going to end up is a fourth quarter transfer.
Can I ask you, where is all the COVID money? What is that used for? Not talking about BOE, but the town.
Well, I can tell you the money that the registrar and I, we wrote for these grants, and we received them, and those went to pay for all the extra people that we had working during the presidential election and primary. It was pretty Herculean, frankly, what we accomplished with many people. So yes, that's what we used it for. Election day, the Secretary of State did pay for the postage, which was great, but for mailing absentee ballots, that saved us a lot of money, but we spent it other places. So
in general, John, where is the COVID money going? Not
Well-
talking about this particular.
Right. The money we've received to date was through the CARES Act. That's all reimbursement for actual expenses. So it's not like we added anything, into the budget. Other than we might come out a little better on some salary items potentially, but it's not like it's an influx. Now the ARP dollars upcoming, which we don't know the rules on yet, that'll be something different where you're doing new things. So they're really two different things. One was reimbursement. Now this is doing more proactive things.
So reimbursement for salaries or reimbursement? for-
Equipment, salaries, if they were directly related to COVID, that type of thing.
So
Some went to
therefore,
Ledge Light.
okay, so therefore, since we had COVID money this year, we did not spend taxpayers' dollars on those items. So that money will be staying in the,
It depends. A lot of the stuff we actually spent extra because of it, and then we got reimbursed. It's all reimbursement. There might be some money left extra in the budget, yes, but most of it was already spent on actual things because of the pandemic.
is there a way to get an accounting of COVID money coming in and taxpayer monies saved because of that?
I'm sure Cindy tracks all of that.
Once the year ends?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I would-
Yeah, Cindy has to submit for all that reimbursement.
Okay.
Mm.
And then it can show what monies we saved of taxpayers' dollars
Right.
because of the extra COVID.
Cindy, I expect we'll have some money left over payroll and police. Outside of that, Cindy, do you know what else? I think most of that's gonna go towards police, isn't it?
Right, for
Anything
the most part, you're right. The FEMA money that we received and the money we received from the state, we had to substantiate our expenses. And most of the items that money was spent on were outside of the budget, where they were for items that we didn't budget for, the plexiglass and all of the PPE and the additional cleanings that we had to have in all of the buildings, the Zoom meetings. So it's not, I find it difficult to say we actually saved money because it was money we didn't budget for that we had to spend. Now, Town Manager Byrd is correct, and the money that's coming from the American Rescue, that's going to be different. That's things that we can look forward to spend that money on. But both of the others were reimbursement grants, and we had to provide lots of information, backups, invoices, check numbers to receive that money. And some of this items, they did deny. They didn't pay everything that we submitted. Like, for example, the laptops, FEMA did not consider that an eligible expense for working from home.
And the ARP dollars, once we get instructions on that, that will go through a typical grant process where the council decides what categories of things they want to use that for, and then it'll come through the RTM for acceptance of the grant. So there'll be more on that upcoming.
Okay, so bottom line, Cindy, we did not save any taxpayers' dollars because we spent over and above because of COVID.
I wouldn't say in the year
There'll be
as a
some.
whole, excuse me.
There'll be some, it's just not a windfall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Representative Katowski.
Cindy, I have a question. So as far as payroll goes with COVID money, wasn't there a payroll where if someone was quarantining that the town, they didn't have to use their sick time, that the town got reimbursed from the federal government? So in fact, yes, they were receiving additional money.
Now, I'm unaware of that. I mean, if we had people, the CARES Act required us to give them, the 10 days, I believe, of paid time. But that was not something that we submitted to FEMA for reimbursement.
Did
or
they
the
have to
state.
use their sick time?
No, not for the first
No.
10 days.
Who paid for that?
The town.
The
Yeah,
town
we give
did
them
pay
extra
for
time.
that.
We're required
Yeah.
by law to.
Right.
And that's what you're getting reimbursed for?
No.
No, that was not an eligible reimbursement. The only time with the overtime, for example, for the police, that was considered reimbursement, but not full-time salaries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Essentially, it was an unfunded mandate from the federal government.
Right, and
Okay.
anyone who took time, that was a one-time thing last year. And if anyone became ill or was exposed to COVID, they have to use their sick or vacation time.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Representative Katowski?
Oh, no, I was
No.
trying to hit mute.
Okay, all right. So we'll vote on the amended motion of $330,857. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, Roseanne. All those opposed, say
Opposed.
aye or raise your hand. Okay, so one in favor, 6 opposed. Do I have that right? 6 opposed. Okay. Now we'll vote on the main motion of $333,800. All those in favor of $333,800, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Opposed? Roseanne, are you voting for this?
No, I'm opposed.
Okay. All right, the motion passes. Thank you, Town Clerk McCousher.
Thank you for, you guys aren't paid, so, and put in a lot of hours, I know.
Well, thank you too. Okay, the next account, and I hope I have this one right, is 2060 Munford Cove, and it's on page 189.
I'd like to move 21,180.
Second,
20
Foster.
Say that again, Bruce, please.
$21,180.
Bruce and Chase. Okay. All right, Cindy, are you gonna take us through this one?
Yes, I am.
Madam Chair, I'm just gonna bow out and go spend a little time with my family.
Okay.
Let
Thanks
me
for
know if
coming.
you need anything, just a phone call away.
Okay. Thank you, Betsy.
Okay, this is the budget for the Montford Cove District. And what that district, the taxpayers normally are taxed to pay the Noe Fire District for fire protection. And that's what the bulk of this budget is for. They pay Noe $20,000 for fire protection. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Okay,
So in other words, this is just a pass-through, no ink. Taxpayers pay this money, it goes to the town and they pay it out. Is that what it
right,
is?
right. Mumford Cove, the residents of Mumford Cove pay the Mumford Cove tax,
Mumford
right. And then when the funds come in, we pay Noe Fire District for them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we do this every year. Isn't that correct, Cindy?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
I just wanted to make that clear for television viewers.
okay. No. I
Thank you.
apologize, Kathy. I didn't mean to offend you or anything.
Oh, no, I'm not offended.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of $21,180, raise your hand and say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
No abstention, no opposed, abstentions? Okay, carried. Okay, the next account is the Groton Sewer District, and that is on page 192. Would someone like to move that number?
I make a motion for $1,396,418.
Chase, can you say that again for me?
$1,396,418.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Second. Jeez. Okay, Cindy, is this your account too?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Okay, this is the Groton Sewer District. For the sewer district taxes collect and fund this fund, and it's primary debt service. It pays the debt service for any long-term debt issues for improvements to the treatment plant. And we are just, in 2016, there was a referendum that passed about a $7 million bond issue for some upgrades to the pump stations. And this year we will be bonding for that money. So the increase in this budget is due to an estimated debt service payment on those bonds that'll be issued this month, $7 million. And that's about $622,000 is the estimate for debt service for next year.
How many years do we have to pay until we pay this off, Cindy?
Be 20 years.
20 years, okay. Any, Bruce?
Yeah. Hi, Cindy. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
The amount that's being applied from the fund balance, is that a fund balance from the like from the overall town fund balance or from the sewer fund?
Just from the sewer district. It has its own fund balance.
Okay, so how much is in that account right now? If once the 125,000 is applied, how much is left in the fund balance?
Let me just get to that page.
Like maybe you can just let me know what we started with and what we're ending with. Like
It's 196.
Oh. Roseanne's ahead of me. I don't have that page open in my budget. Bear with me. On page 53. Okay. The audited fund balance for fiscal 20 was 149,000. We were estimating the fund balance at the end of 21 to be about 557,000. And then we expect it to go down to 432,000 at the end of 22. And I will tell you that the reason that fund balance increased from 20 to 21, we had planned last year in April of 20 to have the bond sale. These bonds were going to be sold last year. So we had thought that we would have a debt service payment due in 21. But due to COVID and market volatility, were unable to sell those bonds last year. So the money that we had estimated and put in the budget to pay this year will flow back into fund balance at this year at the end of 21. And then I've appropriated some of it to offset a mill rate increase in 22.
thank you. I was just wondering, it looks like at the end of 22, you're estimating that the fund balance will be 31, almost 31% of the amount. And I'm just wondering if what would be the downside of applying the amount of the increase from 1 year? I think it's, the difference is it 50, like 52,000 and change, like why we wouldn't take that out of the fund balance too, seeing it's so rich. Why keep that much? You know what I mean? Like if we took 52,000 out, it would be 380. It would probably be in 22% of fund balance. Like it seems awful healthy.
If we were to use an additional amount of fund balance?
Yeah, to just make it a zero, to make it a zero increase from the tax money, like
right.
It's not taking it from the general fund, it's taking it from this fund balance.
No, it is, right. It is taking it from this fund. And that is a consideration we can have when the budget is adopted. I did choose to use the 125 this year to try to maintain that fund balance in there, to try to hold a flat mill rate. But it is a consideration that we can take when we set the final mill rate.
So that's something, I guess what I'm taking from your statement is that that's something that we can't affect here because we don't determine the fund balance that's used.
That's correct.
It's the council that does.
Yes.
And I will just say, I'll just say for the record, it has nothing to do with you, Cindy. This is what is so aggravating about the town, that we are here, we're trying to reduce the burden from the taxpayers, and we have no authority, but we are the fiscal arm of the town. Very frustrating.
Bev, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Roseanne.
Very well said, Bruce. Thank you. Cindy.
Yes.
Okay. You remember what happened several years ago. I think we should take that $50,000 and give it back to the ratepayers. I mean, this goes up every single year just because.
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
I am proposing a decrease to the mill rate this year
Okay,
for the sewer district
Yeah. she
from
did.
56 to 53.
Yeah.
well, I guess I'm happy about that.
Well, when I look at the mill rate and the fund balance to apply, I try to take a reasonable road in the sewer district because I wouldn't want to increase it too much this year and then run the risk of having to increase it again next year.
Well, that's what
Not
happened
again.
several years ago when we found the $700,000 that wasn't moved forward from 2017. And then they did not raise our rates, but then the next year they raised them $3. So it was kind of a wash.
That's the sewer use fee. That's not the
That's what
sewer.
I'm talking, yeah.
The sewer use is a sewer operating, and that is related to your sewer use. This is your sewer district tax.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Bruce, were you finished?
I was, thank you, Beverly.
Okay, okay. Any other questions? Okay. So sewer district. All right, so all those in favor of $1,396,418, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
I,
Any abstentions? Anybody oppose? John, do you have your hand up? Oh, Representative Chase, okay, never mind. Okay. All right, so this is approved. 5-7. Okay, the next item is account 1076. It is debt service, and it's on page 204.
It is?
Yep, 1076 on page 204, debt service.
Did we skip some? Did we skip 5P 74?
Excuse me?
there's 1011 and 6050 before that.
I'm sorry, I've skipped them. I'm gonna put all Cindy's together instead
Oh,
of
okay.
breaking Cindy's up. So I'll put all Cindy's together, and then at the end, we'll do this 2 CIPs. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, sorry.
that was the right thing to say, unless you had to
Thank you.
report to Cindy.
All right, so can you repeat the page we need to be on then?
Okay, page 204. Debt service, account 1076. Is everybody there?
Yes.
Do you have a motion? Anybody like to move that number?
I will move $9,523,450 for account 1076.
Do you have a second?
Second, Foster.
Thank you, Chase. All right, Cindy.
Okay, as you know, 1076 covers the debt service for both the general obligation and the schools. And this year, the increase is for the third year of bonding that we have for the schools that we'll be doing this month. We have estimated that the increase in debt service will be roughly $1.6 million in the 22 budget. So it's just for the Groton 2020 plan. As I said, this is the third of 5 planned bond issues.
I'm sorry, did you say first or third of 5?
Oh, third of 5. Yes, we had 19, 20, and now 21.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is the third year of 5 years.
Yes,
Okay.
the original plan back in 2016 had planned for 5 bond issues.
Okay.
And
And it's, what did you say? It's $1.6 million in 2022?
That's the increase to the budget, yes.
Increase to the budget.
for these 3 bonds, it's about $5 million in payment. Is that right, Cindy? I think we looked at it about 5 million.
Right, and some total, right.
Yeah, in sum total for the 3 bond issuances. And
So
it-
what,
it-
go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, just a reminder to people, I think a lot of people have forgotten, when I look back at the old literature, when the Groton 2020 plan was approved, it was put in the literature that it'd be about a 2 mil increase. And that's where we're basically heading with, once we get the other 2 issuances done.
Right, it's been about between a 1.5 and 1.6 increase to debt service every year.
Okay.
So that will add up to more than 2 mils total. Yes?
Well, some debt will come off, as older debt will come off, so it won't the school won't increase that much. You have debt, your debt goes up and down, not up and down, I'm sorry, that's the wrong term to use, but some of it will be paid off in like 28 and 29, I believe.
And this increase is due to the school bonding.
That's correct.
Okay.
This
all
is
right,
just for the Groton 2020 plan.
Okay. I just want to make sure I get it right. How much do we still owe, Cindy? It seems like we're at the end. If this is the third year, we only have what, after this 2 more years, so.
Yeah, well, the project, it's a $184 million project. The two new elementary schools,
this goes-
it's my understanding it will be finished so that the students can go in September. We've issued 20 bond issues, 40, and then we're issuing another 1858. The final project total won't be until we get all of our grants from the state
Okay.
and we get our final audit done. And the state withholds, I believe, 11% of our grant payments. So I think you said how much is, I don't know if you asked me how much is still due. What was
Yes,
your
I
question?
did.
Then I'm sorry.
How much do we still owe?
Well, we haven't bonded it all, so we would probably ultimately end up bonding about 84 million.
Okay.
So we're about halfway there.
Okay.
We're about at 58 after this one.
Then Cindy, I was under the impression that we had to bond the whole 184.5 million and then the state reimburses. That's not the case?
Oh, no, the state reimburses us as we go.
go?
We have been submitting reimbursement and getting state grant, but they withhold, it's either 10 or 11% of those grant payments as retainage, just in case when the audit is done, they'll review it, with a fine tooth comb. They may find some things that they deem ineligible costs, so they won't reimburse us for those. And that's when the final bond issue will have taken that all into account.
So when
But we have been getting grant payments throughout this whole project.
okay, so when they reimburse us, it's on money we've already bonded?
Well, when we decide how much we're going to bond, we look at our cash flow out for either 12 to 18 months. We look at what we've already received, what we expect to receive from the state, and then we call it sizing the issue. So we really are only bonding what we think our costs are going to be.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is when the state reimburses us, we don't put that to pay a bond off, in other words.
No, it goes to pay the other costs of the project.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
we would expect our cost to be the 84 million.
So all told, we would only be paying 84 million.
Yes, that was the way the project was presented. Yes,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Town Manager John Burt, you have a question? Do you have your hand up? Okay. All right,
No,
any other?
not me.
Okay, I thought I saw your little hand there. All right. Any other questions? All right. So all those in favor of the $9,523,450, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All
One,
right. Who was that? Roseanne?
me, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, the next item is account 1073, and it's on page 168, contributions to other funds. So on page 168, account 1073, contributions to other funds. All right. Do we take this account all in one number, Cindy?
Yes,
Okay. Who would like to make the motion to approve the funds for account 1073?
I
Bruce,
move
go ahead.
1.660620. 1,606,620.
Second.
Okay. Okay, Cindy, you want to explain this account?
Okay. The contributions to other fund, there's several funds that are included in here. We have the revaluation fund, which that fund, we accumulate funds over a course of time because we have to do the reval every 5 years. We are in the middle of a reval, so some of which will be paid, part would be paid this year and part would be paid next year. The computer replacement fund, that runs through the IT division, and the IT director determines the funding that he needs for that account each year. The TIF fund is you all are aware of the TIF fund, and this was our first year that we did the comparison between the grand list and the 50% of the increase to the grand list. The taxes are set aside in the TIF fund. So that year, it amounts to roughly $3,600 in taxes collected in 21 for the increase to the TIF fund. And then the fleet, the vehicles, the maintenance and fuels, you'll remember that several years ago, we created these in a single contributions to other fund rather than having them in all of the individual functions. And the information for the maintenance and the fuel comes directly from Public Works after they have done their analysis of all the vehicles. Of what they feel they need for maintenance and fuel. We're part of a consortium. We lock in our fuel price every year. So we did get we are seeing some savings next year. We were able to lock in at a very good price. And as far as the vehicles, the Public Works and puts a wish list, I guess you'd say, to the town manager, and they review those, and then the town manager ultimately decides the amount that we will contribute for the fleet vehicles.
What new vehicles are they buying, Cindy? Are they buying new ones?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone saw the council's budget meeting. Was it Monday night, Cindy, that we
Was
continued
Monday
that?
night with Public
Yeah,
Works.
we went into quite a bit of detail there. Our vehicles are so old now at this point. But the police we're keeping up well on, but we haven't done anything for Public Works in a long time.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 vehicles they're purchasing this year.
Okay. Are they considering any electric vehicles or hybrids?
No, not this year. We have, I think, 2 electric cars and like several hybrids, but these are large parks maintenance and Public Works vehicles. I'm not real. There's a couple of trucks. There's a backhoe. There's a riding mower for the Parks Department. But there are 6 out of, I believe there were 9 requested, and we will be purchasing 6 of those. And if you recall, last year, due to the budget, we did not purchase any vehicles last year.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, Bruce?
I have
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick one. If I was looking at I'm kind of going back to the same thing, but the fund balance for like the computer replacement, again, if that's something that it looks like the fund balance as of June 30th was 349,000, and then the fund balance as of 21 are 331,211, and then for 22 it's 331,891, and it says the fund balance as a percentage of 2021 expenditures is 478%. Is that because we spent nothing in the year prior?
It looks like he didn't spend as much in the prior year, but that the use of fund balance in that fund is compared to the revenue that's coming in and his expenditures. I guess I'm drawing a blank here of how to explain that, but I guess if he were to up his expenditures, he would dip into his fund balance. But right now the revenue coming into the fund and his expenditures have been kind of flat or even, and that's why we have not used that fund balance.
Okay.
But I do think that this fund does have an accumulator in there for some bigger, larger tickets that he might have to buy down the road. And then I think when Brian Hancock comes on, you could ask him. I think he's on after me, and he'll be discussing the computer replacement fund. But I think he is accumulating for some future expected larger purchases.
Who's
Okay.
in the queue? Brian, are you listening?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you follow those questions?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's just I assign a replacement schedule for everything within the town. What, like, desktops are 5 years, laptops 6 years, printers 10 years. We got the police mobile data terminals in there now that we try to keep them every 4 or 5 years. I can't remember the schedule for them. We also are doing monitor replacement out of there. We just budget like $5,000, and as monitors fail, they're being replaced on an as-need basis. So I buy 10 at a time and then roll them out throughout the town. But it's just, in the future, I do have expenditures coming up that, printer replacements, MDTs, and stuff like that.
Thanks. Yeah, I do see on the technology replacement that you're set to do 55 desktop PCs, 1 GIS users PC, 9 laptops, and 1 check validator. And I'm gathering that that's the 70. Is that 70,000? Is that
That's pretty much, yeah, that's what I plan on spending this year, yes. That's with the hardware for there.
Yeah. So it's like a little over $1,000 a PC in a laptop.
No, the PCs are, they're 625 each. Laptops run about 1,200. We've been trying to replace desktops with laptops, so
Yep.
we consolidate 2. The GIS desktop is actually for the town manager. He runs GIS up there, and he needs a little bit more power up there.
Yep.
And the 1 check validator is for the tax office. We're trying to keep those validators up to date because they fail, and at the tax window, it's just not a good situation.
Yeah. It seems to me that if you were doing 55 desktops at 625 each, that's 34. The laptops are, it just seems 70,000 seems high, but it's neither here nor there. It's not gonna make a big difference, but it just seems like we should be appropriating the right amount from the fund. I tend to go to the fund balance, and I know we have no control, so I probably should just.
Well, there's also the $5,000 for the monitors, and and as of last year, the year before, I can't remember when we first started this, but we're actually using some of that money for fix and repair. Say a validator does fail, I pick up the expense for that, or if something's in finance, check a receipt printer fails, no one has $600-700 in their budget. So I've been picking that up. So that's like another $9,000 total between PC, printer, and
Gotcha. The 50 monitors, what size are they, and what size are you going to?
We've been buying 24-inch monitors, and we've been getting them off Amazon for about, last ones I bought were 120.
So what size are the 50 that you're replacing?
I don't, as they fail is when I replace them. We have 17s, 19s, 21s, 22s out there. So when someone calls me and their backlight goes out or something like that, and they got a 17, I'll put a 24 in their place.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Cindy, I have a question.
Yes.
This $64,515 in this account, what makes it different than the technology replacement account on account 650? Do we take this money and add it to the 650 account?
Yes.
Why don't we just have one account for computer replacement? I don't understand.
Yeah, the technology, the computer replacement fund is the technology fund, the 6050. This money that is appropriated under contributions of other fund is what we will add that money to the 605 fund for him to spend this year.
Why don't we just have it all in one fund? Why do we put it here, and then why do we divide it up? That's my question.
Well, this is the general fund is appropriating funds to give to other funds. It's leaving the general fund. It's the same as with the reval fund or the fleet maintenance fund. The
Mhm.
general fund is appropriating money to accumulate funds in those other funds. I know that's a
Okay.
lot of funds, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
You're
I
welcome.
like to move another number,
Okay, go ahead.
$1,022,
Wait, I didn't hear.
$695.
Can you say it again? You were breaking up.
Sorry, $1,622. Wait, $1,622,695. 1,622,695.
Okay. Do we have a
And
Second
second?
for discussion.
Thank
That
you.
was you, Bruce? Okay.
Okay, so considering everything I said about the last accounts, probably shouldn't repeat it, but what I did was I took half of the fleet money and I deducted it from the total as well as the TIF because I don't agree with the program. And that's why I moved that number. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion on that number?
I have a question besides that number.
Go ahead.
So what is that TIF fund going to be used for?
Well, the funds, the TIF master plan funds, if you have a TIF district, and I'm going to try to explain this as best I can because I'm not the best about TIF. But when
Well,
we
John's
created,
here. John Mine is here.
oh,
I see his
John.
name.
Can I tell you what I believe? Because every
Sure.
time I think I understand TIF, I'm like confused again. But the way I heard it a long time ago when we were trying to adopt this was if someone builds whatever
Mhm.
and we want to give them, it's a TIF district. Say they owe $50,000 in taxes and they came to an agreement with the town that they'll be reimbursed 50%. So they pay us 50,000, we give them 25,000 back. Is that correct or no?
I'm not sure I understood it that way.
Okay,
And
good. So
if John comes on, he can jump in, but we have a TIF district. And what the policy says is if you have in development within that district, and we had a starting point, which was the 2018 grand list. So any increases in that district from over that 2018 value, 50% of the taxes collected would be transferred into the TIF fund so that it would start to accumulate money so that when we had developments that came in, that we would have some funding available as incentives to a developer to maybe help them put in a sidewalk, or it would be funds that we could offer to the developer to encourage development.
well, the way I understood it when they were talking about it was if somebody wanted to run sewer lines down 117 and it cost, who knows, $1 million,
Yeah.
we would reimburse them once they paid the taxes on their property.
It's-
We would reimburse them a certain agreed upon percentage.
So,
John, oh, there you go ahead, Jed.
oh, sorry, I was listening. I was going to jump in. So John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services. So both of you are right. So the way Cindy's explaining it is one piece of it. And then also the other piece is that if there's a developer who is looking to improve something in that district over a certain expense, and we enter into a credit enhancement agreement, then there would be a certain amount of that paid taxes that could be given back to the developer.
Okay, so they'd pay, like the analogy I used, they give us 50,000 because that's what their taxes are, and we give them agreed upon percentage, let's say 50%.
Correct.
We give them half of that money back.
Correct. Again, only after we, the town, have negotiated with them a credit enhancement agreement
Right.
based upon their development. And it's only based upon the incremental increase of their taxes. So it's not of their total taxes, it's what the growth in taxes from what they were paying before.
Okay, so this fund, Cost Center 4, is used to help, like Cindy said, build a sidewalk or whatever. So you don't pay for the whole thing. There's some agreed upon percentage that the town will pay versus the builder. Is that correct?
So that's something that can happen also this fund as she's talking about. So as the assessed value of that TIF district starts to go up from where it was when it was adopted in 2018, we, the town, start setting money aside specifically for that TIF district from that incremental growth in the district. We, the town, would then budget, how do we want to use that money for improvements within that district that will help spur development and redevelopment? That's the whole goal. If the town says, yeah, we don't want to set that funding aside in 2 years' time, or we want to take that back and put it back to the general fund, that's something that could happen. But if we want to also initiate redevelopment in these areas or other infrastructure improvements with some of that funding, we can do that.
Thank you.
John, is this a
You're welcome.
different TIF account? John, is this a different TIF account? Or is this the same TIF account as we had before?
Well, it's still a TIF district. So we have the 2 TIF districts in the town, the one downtown, and then the one joint TIF district in the city town down in Thames 5 Corners.
Okay. How much money do we have in the account altogether?
I don't know if we have any money. I would look to Cindy. I don't know if we've accumulated any money yet, or if it's next year that we'll start accumulating it.
Cindy has a finger up.
Yeah. This is the first year that we would be contributing to the fund. This is the first deposit to the TIF fund.
And it's only $3,000?
Yes.
Oh,
There was
look,
not a lot of increase to the grand list, in that one of the districts had no increase at all. And then one had a very small increase.
okay,
We haven't really seen any major development yet. So it's just starting.
okay. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, John. Any other questions? Okay, we'll vote first on the amended motion of $1,622,695. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oppose?
Opposed. Opposed.
Okay, so 1 in favor is Roseanne and 6 opposed. Okay. Okay, the next item is account number 1094. Let me see.
They-
No, we have to vote on the other number.
Yeah, you have to vote on the other number. You only voted on the first motion.
Or first amended motion. So now we gotta do the main motion.
She froze.
Yes, Beverly's frozen.
What happened? What happened?
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, all right, we vote on the main motion of $1,006,600. In favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I lost you.
Abstentions?
I oppose.
Okay, so 6 in favor. 1 opposed. Roseanne. Okay. All right, the next account is 1094, and it's on page 210. Contingency.
That one, we kept it static at 350,000. I'm trying to find my page here, sorry. Cindy, is that correct? 350, I can't find the page.
Yes.
Okay,
350.
yeah.
But wait a second, John, let's put a motion on the floor.
Oh, sorry
first.
about that, sorry.
That's okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for 350,000.
Thank you, Chase. Do I have a
Second,
second?
second.
Kathy? Okay, go ahead, John.
We kept it static with this last year at 350, which is fairly low for what we traditionally do. Looking back in the few years before it, we were more using about, a lot of it depends on winter, on the snow plowing. You can run into a whole lot of money in snow plowing, but we had been keeping it more like the 450, 400, 450, 500 range prior to this. So, but with snow seasons getting, a little better, We were able to reduce that, so we're maintaining it. This year, we've done really well in contingency, other than fourth quarter transfers are coming, including Cindy. I think the most sizable one's coming next week to the cow. Is that correct?
Yes,
The
that's
reval
correct.
fund. Yeah. How much was that for? I forget.
130,000.
Yeah. So 350 though we think is doable. It's lower than we used to have, but it's pretty manageable.
Okay. Any questions for Cindy or John?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kathy.
So I'm seeing 218,000 for FYE 2021. How, I don't understand flat.
As you spend it, that number goes down as you transfer it out. Is that correct, Cindy?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's
And
down
then
to-
once we do fourth quarter transfers, it's going to go down more.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of the 350,000 for contingency, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, approved. Okay, thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is account 1011, and it's information technology on page 74. So 1011 on page 74. Do you have a motion for that account?
Like to
Bruce?
move $1,102,733.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, thank you for coming, Mr. Hancock.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, everybody. This IT budget is reflecting like an overall increase of about 32,172. This is between the personnel and operations. The personnel expense has increased by $12,000, and this is due to contractual agreements that I have no control over. And the operating expense has increased by about roughly $20,172 over this year. And the increase is due to 3 new maintenance contracts coming due. One is Charity Tracker, which is a new software for the human services over there. And that was $3,240. Archive Social, which is a archiving system for all social media that we're using for FOI and tracking compliances, and that was $5,075. And the last one was the revised for the new web page, which is running $5,900 annually. So that's an increase of about $14,215. All the rest is all the other maintenance contracts that are handled through IT, roughly probably 35, 40 of them make up all the other increases for this budget.
Any questions?
I'd like to move another number,
Okay,
$1,070,561.
$1,070,000.
$561. That's 2021's adjusted number.
Do I have a second?
Second for discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Roseanne.
And it's the same thing. I really feel like we should be reducing spending. I feel like there should be some empathy for the taxpayers, and this is a big account, and I just think that we should start cutting. Thank you.
Any other go ahead, John.
I'm just going to mention that all that overage is things that we're contractually committed to, so we don't have a choice but to pay it. So we'd end up being back for a fourth. There's not much to cut in this budget to keep things going. We'd be back for a fourth quarter transfer for sure if it was cut.
Can I say something? Just that just sort of goes to the point that the RTM really has no fiscal power or fiscal, can't make any fiscal decisions, because let's say and you would just come back for fourth quarter transfers. So what's the point? I don't get it.
Part of it is when there's fat, you have a lot more control. There's not fat in this budget, other than, obviously CIPs are all a matter of people's discretion on what they think is important or not. But in terms of department budgets, there's not a lot of fat. They've been cut over the years. RTM did often flex that muscle to cut it. We're now at the point where to cut is to either have to go for a fourth quarter transfer or ask the council to cut a service. And that is entirely up to the council whether to cut a service or not. And so it'd be something I take back and have to say, council, do you want to do a fourth quarter transfer? Well, this is the budget, but do you want me to go over it for a fourth quarter transfer? Do you want to cut services? It's one or the other.
I mean, I understand, I've been preached at for years that the town council is the legislative administrative body, and we're supposed to be the fiduciary arm of the town. But
you're co-equal though. You both have different fiduciary powers in the charter.
Right,
You're not just the,
but it contradicts what you just said, that if we did reduce this, you would just get the money in fourth quarter transfer. I mean, that's
because we're contractually bound for those increases. There's not we couldn't function without the staff in IT. It's been cut down to the bare minimum. We couldn't get things done. Things would fall apart. That's just not sound financing, sound budgeting. There's only so much you could cut from budgets.
Any other discussion or suggestions or questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a statement.
Go ahead, Chase.
I don't understand why we would cut from IT. I mean, this should increase efficiency of the town government. It just makes sense to maintain what's being requested.
I have a question, Chair.
Go ahead, Representative Chase.
So do you have, let's see, how do I want to say it? Do you have salary ranges for every position in the town?
Yeah, they're through each contract, yes.
And so how often are those revised?
When most contracts are 3 years, so you would relook at them after 3 years.
So my question is, where is it capped? Where are salaries capped? I mean, if they change, if you have a 3-year contract with whatever department, and then you negotiate with the union and they change those ranges, where does it end? Where's the cap?
Honestly, part of it is to keep up with CPI, and we look at, well, Bob and Eileen are the negotiating team, but they look at where all towns are at on both arbitrations and mediations to see, what you're not going to do is go in under what people are getting out of arbitration. If you'd spend, $50,000 knowing you're going to lose. So it's all negotiating something in that range that other towns are doing that you can get a little bit better than arbitration. But, that's the collective bargaining system.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hancock, I see you have, it says, I listened to your presentation at the town council budget meeting. You have 4 outside contracts. Are they maintenance agreements?
Yes, they're all our software and phone systems and communication lines have maintenance contracts.
When you have contracts, do you go out to bid, or if you have a HP computer, you have an HP maintenance contract? Do that.
It's normally not that way. It's mainly like if we have a financial system, you have to pay maintenance through that company. You can't go anywhere else. And that's pretty much most of our softwares are like that. There's no
Go ahead.
competitive bidding.
Any other questions? Clarence, Representative Casper?
Thank you, Chairman Washington. I just want to ask Brian, I mean, and John, you're not only, when you're setting salaries in this department, you're competing not only with other towns, but you're competing with industry all around here for personnel. Is that true?
True.
True.
I have one other question. Software maintenance fees went up. Is it because you have more contracts than last year? Or just the cost of the maintenance fees themselves went up?
The 3 new contracts that came online this year with the charity tracker, Archive Social, and the revise, which is about 14,000 and change. Okay. So the remaining 6,000, little under 6,000 was the remaining contracts, jumping up there at 1 or 2%.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll vote first on the amended motion of $1,070,561. All those in favor of that number, say aye.
Aye.
Bruce and Representative Kukowski?
Oh, I made a mistake. I had to pay attention. It's fine. You can call. I just got to pay attention.
Are you opposed to that? All those in favor of $1,070,561, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, that motion fails. We'll go back to the main motion of $1,102,733. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Come here, Casper. Oh.
Okay. The next item is account 650, technology replacement, and that is on page 79.
I'll make a motion for $69,340.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Hancock, is that on your list?
It's on my list. This is, as you can see, it's overall decrease from last year, 20,800. This is the scheduled replacement of desktops, 55 desktop PCs, 1 GIS user PC, 9 laptops, and a validator. We also budget $5,000 for monitor replacement, and that is replaced as monitors fail. We also looking at, I think it's 4 network printer replacements. And software maintenance. And then we have some funding for PC repair, printer repair, and peripheral replacements, as I spoke of earlier. This is when pieces of equipment, validators, check printers, and check readers, all these things fail. Actually, desktop scanners too. The departments really don't have, some of these departments don't have funding to cover all that. So I started this fund to do a replacement of this hardware for PC peripherals.
Any questions? Could you refresh my memory on what is one GIS? What is that?
We have in town, we have some geographic information systems. That's our mapping.
Okay,
We have 6 users throughout the town. We replaced 5 last year. The 6th one is the town manager's PC. He has GIS on his system that he uses pretty extensively up there. And that's the one being slated for replacement.
okay. Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
And did you explain the peripheral? What do you mean by peripheral equipment repair?
The repair equipment would be like cash drawers, barcode scanners, UPS battery replacements, all these peripherals that people have hanging off their desktops, desktop scanners, check validators, like I said.
Okay.
And, these range in price from, might be $50 or $100 to upward to $700 for some of these pieces to be replaced.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I had
I
to
have a
let
question.
my dog out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chase.
I just was curious if there was grant money available for any of this hardware.
I have not seen any. Truthfully out there, no.
I'd like to move another number,
Go ahead.
103,000.
100 and 103,000?
Yes, half of the 206. I missed the beginning because I had to let my dog out. So
Oh, no, we're
No, our
69,340.
Our number is 69,340.
oh, I didn't miss that vote. Oh, sorry.
No, no, we're on count 650 on page 79.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, that's okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of $69,340, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Chase? Okay. Everybody's in favor? Is that 7 of us in favor?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, now we have CIP, technology, information technology infrastructure on page 233. Oh my God. Okay, and do have a motion to approve the FYE 2022 figure of $206,000.
So
Make
moved.
the motion.
Sean, and was that you, Representative Chase?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hancock?
Yes, this CIP is for replacing critical core data center infrastructure for the town of Groton's network. We're scheduled to replace 2 core network switches, one located at the town hall and the second one located at the police department. Both of these switches are coming up on 10 years old. It's time to replace. Failure on either one of these items would bring the network down for pretty substantial time. This is the core communications throughout the town of the network. We're also looking to schedule to replace the server blade enclosure. This equipment is currently hosting all the town's virtual servers. Right now, roughly about 40 servers total. This equipment is roughly about 10 years old in itself. it's almost getting cost prohibitive to have maintenance on these systems to keep them up and running. And, you know, coming in the near future, we would have to replace 4 of the blades within this enclosure, and they roughly run about 30,000 each. So we're going to go with some newer technology. And the last item on this is the ARC email data retention system. This is coming up end of support, end of life, and it needs replacing. And this system is used for archiving of all the town's email in and out, email recovery, and for FOI processing.
All right. Any questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Representative Chase.
Thank you. I hate to dwell, but there's no technology COVID money to pay for any of this?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you.
Good ask though.
Now, the equipment, how long, the equipment lasts is about 10 years? Is that the life expectancy?
The life expectancy is a lot shorter, but it's been in good running order. We've been keeping maintenance on it. So we've let it run a little bit longer on its life cycle. It should be probably replaced every 7 years. As for the blade server, we kept the enclosure. The enclosure is actually the limitation of the entire blade system. But we have been upgrading the blades. And like I said, you know, to purchase 2 of them is $60,000, and it's just cost prohibitive to keep moving with this older technology.
So we're always going to be paying for technology in our budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And we're trying to keep current
Okay.
as much as possible.
Any other questions? Okay, so all those in favor of the $206,000, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Okay, opposed?
One,
One, Representative Katowski?
yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. And the last item on our agenda is CIP 7C on page 234, Enterprise Information Management System Acquisition. So it's CIP 7C on page 234.
Make a motion for $380,000.
Okay, $380,000 from Representative Forster.
Second.
Second, Representative Flax. Okay, hanging out with you guys so long, I know your voices now. I don't even have to look at the screen.
That's a quality chairman right there.
Okay, Mr. Hancock, you're on again.
Okay, this is the next phase in our enterprise management, integrating our software into our current Munis system. The modules in this include planning, permitting, inspections, code enforcement, and mobile accessibility for building inspectors out in the field. Currently, we're looking to replace the Infor Hansen software that our planning department is currently using. The software, as we sit today, is almost 10 years out of date. And the reason for that is we got a cost estimate for upgrading this software to one version up, and the quote was for $1 million. We have not moved forward with that. It seems quite expensive for an upgrade. So we're looking to do this upgrade to the Munis and all the bells and whistles that will support economic development within the town, because it would also be a citizen self-service for business and residents. John Reiner is Director of Planning's on. He can add to what I just said.
Thank you, Brian. John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services. As we are getting busier, people, a lot of our clients, our constituents are constantly looking for how can they access their permits, how can they apply for permits online. They want to see where things are in the review, inspection process, schedule inspections. This software allows people to see that. It will substantially increase the transparency of all applications and submittals we get, whether that's building permits, planning applications, zoning applications, inland wetlands, you name it. And, will greatly increase the efficiency of how we are processing applications. We have been having a really hard time keeping up with the amount of applications and development that we've been seeing, and this will certainly take some of the stress off of that.
Any questions? I really wish I knew more about technology and software, so I could ask some questions, but I'm at a handicap here.
I have a question
Go ahead, Representative Chase.
for John Reiner. So when you presented to the town council, you said, what you just said now, that I'll take burden off of staff, but you also said that you won't need additional staff in the future. Are we going to hold you to that?
So what I'm hoping for, so this year, council had asked if we needed additional staff in the building or other departments. And I said, I feel like we're kind of at a tipping point right now. I'm not asking for additional staff this year. From a planning, zoning, building permit standpoint, there is a staff member in the budget dealing with sustainability and resiliency. That's a different discussion for a different day. What I'm hoping is that once we get this up and running, that next year, I won't need to ask you for any additional staff either.
Next year, meaning 23 or 22?
Meaning 23, we're going into 22. So for 22, I'm not asking you for any additional staff over what we have. I'm hoping that this software allows us to stay at that same point.
Thank you.
Good question, Kathy. I had the same thing written down in my budget book. May hold off additional staff in the future.
Two great minds. Two great minds.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome. Oh, Bev is frozen again.
At least she has a smile on her face.
If she can hear us, one of the tricks to unfreezing sometimes is if you stop your video, it frees up some of the speed on your internet.
Like she got off. Looks like she's gonna try to log back on.
Yeah, lost her.
In progress. I see her name popping up.
This reminds me of a Heimlich maneuver. Can you speak? What's the technical equivalent?
Looks like she's gone again.
her name's back again. I'm promoting her to panelist. Hopefully this worked. Looks like it's going to work this time.
She's muted now.
Brian, get over there and help her, will you? Come on.
All right, can you hear
Phone
me?
support stuff.
Yes,
Can
we
you hear
hear
me?
you.
Oh, good. I don't know. What happened. See, I shouldn't have anything about technology. All right.
Beverly, you need either a new tin can or a new string. I'm not sure.
It says your internet connection is unstable. I don't know. That's common for you. All right, okay, so all in favor of 80,000 for account number CIP for information management, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Are you opposed, Bruce?
Yes.
No, Bruce isn't opposed.
Okay. So 6 favor. 1 opposed. Okay, so I think that's all on the agenda for tonight. Ms. Brian, thank you, Brian, for coming.
Wait, one more
Thank you very
thing.
much.
Wait, one more thing. Representative Casper, this is Casper.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
He
Oh,
looks,
adjourn, we recess.
looks
We have
better.
to
Recess.
We recess until April 26th, next
26th.
Monday. Which way- Is
Make a
that,
motion to
I
recess.
can't make it.
is that with everybody?
I
Yes.
can't make it.
Can't make it?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure no one
Can you
minds,
make it?
but.
You make it-
As long as my wife doesn't go into labor, I'll be there.
Gonna be a father?
Oh.
Congratulations, Chase.
Yeah, thank
What's
you.
the due
appreciate
date?
it. The due date's May 14th, but she's there. She's almost
She's
there.
raring to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chairman Washington, thanks for a very good meeting. Very
Yes.
well. Very good. Thank you.
Second that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
see you
Good night,
all.
everyone.
Good night, see you
Thanks,
Monday.
everybody.
Hey,
Night.
Bruce, congratulations.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.
John, you'll stop the recording?
Yes, I'm stopping it right now.